I'm Vinnie Politan. Welcome to Closing Arguments. Great to have you with us tonight. Breaking news, it is verdict night. Red tie in place. A big outcome today. This trial, A-lister Gwyneth Paltrow was the defendant. She was the one being sued, right? She's the one who was supposedly at fault for this ski accident on the Deer Valley Resort. And she was being sued by the retired optometrist, Terry Sanderson. He was asking for millions, literally asking for millions of dollars, $3.2 million for all the damages he said he suffered as a result of this accident, which he said was caused by Gwyneth. This was a case with a lot of strange moments, folks. A lot of strange moments during the course of this trial. Not the least of which was Gwyneth Paltrow shielding her face from a photographer inside the courtroom, the still photographer. There were also some awkward exchanges between Gwyneth Paltrow and the attorney, one of the attorneys for the plaintiff, Terry Sanderson, in this. So all of that took place over the course of 2 weeks and resulted in this.
Was Gwyneth Paltrow at fault? No. Was Gwyneth Paltrow's fault a cause of Terry Sanderson's harm? Oh, skip that.
There's just no response there.
Okay. Was Terry Sanderson at fault? Yes. Was Terry Sanderson's fault a cause Gwyneth Paltrow's... Did Terry Sanderson's fault cause Gwyneth Paltrow's harm? Yes. Comparative fault. What percent of the fault do you assign to Terry Sanderson? 100%. Damages. What amount fairly compensates Gwyneth Paltrow for economic damages? $1. Nice. Signed March 30th, 2023.
Wow. So this is the big difference in our system of justice between criminal cases and civil cases. Civil cases, you're the plaintiff, right? Is sort of like the prosecutor in a criminal case. You bring the accusation. You say this other person has done something wrong. That's what Terry Sanderson did. However, the big difference is in a civil case, there's often a counterclaim. You sue someone, they're going to sue you right back. You blame them, they're going to blame you. You want money from them, they're going to want money from you. So what happened is Terry Sanderson started this whole thing with this lawsuit, and the jury comes back and says, no, Gwyneth did nothing wrong. You, the plaintiff, you're the one who did something wrong. And that's what they found here. Amazing result. So Gwyneth Paltrow just posted on Instagram. Let me read for you what she posted. I felt that acquiescing to a false claim compromised my integrity. I am pleased with the outcome, and I appreciate the hard work of Judge Holmberg and the jury, and thank them for their thoughtfulness in handling this case. Boom, done, over. It's a loss. It's a loss on top of loss for Terry Sanderson. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Julia Jenae joining us live tonight from Park City, Utah. Julia, wow, like boom, boom. It's like, no, Gwyneth did nothing wrong here. It was you, Terry Sanderson. Tell us a little bit about some of the reaction, your reaction tonight to everything that has happened inside that courtroom.
Vinnie, a scathing loss for the plaintiff in this case. This jury could have come back and said that no, she was not at fault, but also he wasn't at fault either. He was only 50% at fault for her injuries and his own, but they put all of the fault on Terry Sanderson, the reason that we were in court for 2 weeks, the person who brought in his family, who opened up his entire life, all of his medical history for the scrutiny of this jury, only for them to determine what Gwyneth Paltrow and Eric Christensen, that ski instructor, said back on those slopes in 2016, that he was the one who ran into her. So inside of that courtroom, it was very quiet. It was very quick. 2.5 hours this jury spent deliberating, and they came back almost at 5 o'clock on the dot here Mountain Time, which is the time they would be wrapping up anyway. But there was a lot of energy at the courthouse today, a lot of more spectators than we've seen, a lot more media, and then people crowding Gwyneth Paltrow to see if she would give us any reaction verbally, anything after she left the courthouse. We did see a wave today. That was the extent, and a smile, but she did not make any actual out loud comments to the media.
Yeah, what I really took away from her throughout this whole thing was she believed 1,000% the same thing that the jury believed, that she did nothing wrong that day. She did nothing wrong, and you're going to accuse me of doing something wrong. No, I'm not settling with you. I'm not going to admit that I did something that I did not do. I have the money to defend this, or if there's an insurance company involved, I don't even know. But I'm not bending. I'm not breaking. I'm not compromising. I'm not acquiescing to a false claim. And she walks out victorious, and she's done. She's done with this. So from my perspective, Julia, I don't know what you think, but the animation is the image that is ingrained in my mind. I know it's not evidence. I know it's just, one side of the story. But when I think of this case, that's what I'm thinking of.
It's a major misstep, in my opinion, for the plaintiffs not to have had their own animation. I know it can be costly. When I was a civil litigator, we had to weigh the cost of whether or not you want to spend thousands more on someone to go out to the slope, get the renderings, figure out where people were, and come up with this digital recreation. But Gwyneth Paltrow's team left this jury with an image of this crash. Everything else pales in comparison when you just have people talking about spread eagles and falling this way and coming up on the edge. I mean, it's even hard for me to get straight in my head with all of the different accounts, how they intersect and what this crash actually looks like. But as soon as the defense started showing this animation of the crash, how it happened, where people were, it didn't matter if they kept reminding you that this is from Gwyneth Paltrow's position, this is from Eric Christensen's position, who was a witness for the defense. You still in your mind think this is what it looked like. Even if there are some things that are different, it's hard to replace that image in your head, and it's worth 1,000 words is what I say.
Yeah, because basically what we just saw in that animation is what the jury believed. That's exactly what they believed. 100%. That's what they believed. It's fascinating to watch this process play out, but again, it shows the significance. And it comes down to testimony also. How about any reactions from Sanderson tonight?
Oh, to give you just the reactions that he had during closing arguments, I could tell. I was sitting just a few rows back from him because I was at the front of the gallery, and he was just a few feet away from me at the plaintiff's table. He was nervous sitting there. There were times when he was very upset. He used his face to show that he was upset with what the defense lawyer was saying about him, and it reminded me of what his doctor said about him not being able to handle criticism, not liking to have to go through all of these details. And here the defense was painting it in the worst light possible, and he had missed most of this trial. So to sit there, it seemed like his face was getting red, his neck was getting red. He coughed a bit during some of the mention of the GoPro and the accusations that he got rid of it in some way. And then at the time of the verdict, you could see that disappointment on his face, that this was not the answer. This was not what he had been waiting all of these years for. As far as Gwyneth Paltrow, during these closings, she did not make any eye contact with the plaintiff's attorney or the jury while they were giving their closings. She looked like a student. She had on her glasses. She looked down at her paperwork. But when things turned to her attorney being on in front of this jury, she looked at them with puppy dog eyes. Her eyebrows went up, her mouth went down, and she stared at this jury the entire time. She made that connection with them. So not only was Stephen Owens giving that presentation, but Gwyneth Paltrow was in the backdrop. And then her reaction during the verdict, she nodded. She approved of what this jury came back with. She mouthed thank you and vigorously when the other attorneys were thanking them. Definitely a victorious moment for her inside of this courtroom for more reasons than just the $1 that she's receiving.
It's not easy. It's not easy when you're accused of something that you did not do. and now you've got to defend yourself. It's a real pain. It's costly in time. There's the risk. There's the exposure. And when you're someone like her, who's an A-list celebrity, there's this further level of scrutiny that's going to be on it. So I thought she comported herself. Really took the high road throughout this entire case. Let's talk about the post-verdict press conference that was held by not the winning side, but the losing side here.
All right, defense attorney Stephen Owen speaking on behalf of his client, something he did throughout this trial. He also made it clear to us during closing arguments that she has been very much a part of this case, the way that it flows. We suspected it because there were times when he was giving his statements or he was cross-examining a witness or a direct examination, he'd get a Post-it note and he'd maybe change up what he did or what he asked the judge for. And he said she's been sending him Post-it notes throughout this trial, that she's not comfortable necessarily in this trial scenario, but she has a voice. Take a listen.
We're pleased with this outcome and appreciate the judge and jury's thoughtful handling of this case. Gwyneth has a history of advocating for what she believes in. This situation was no different, and she will continue to stand for what she believes is right. Thank you. Any further statements will be made through press@harmonyhouse.com.
In researching this case and understanding Gwyneth Paltrow better and Terry Sanderson better, I learned about Gwyneth Paltrow's case where she was a witness in a criminal defense court where a man who had been stalking her incessantly, in her words, was on trial for criminal stalking. And he'd actually been on trial many years before. She had been dealing with him for a decade. The first time the jury found him not guilty by reason of mental insanity. And then the second time, 10 years later, when she had to take the stand and testify against him, the jury still found him not guilty. So losses that she's experienced in a courtroom, markedly different today for her.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely a different outcome. And Stephen Owens, I mean, not an easy job. You know, we've seen in recent years that kind of the tide shifted against celebrities, and now I think it's kind of shifting back in their favor a little bit inside these courtrooms across America. Let's talk about the man who did not win, the plaintiff in this case, and what he and his attorneys were saying after the verdict came back.
They, of course, acknowledged that this was not the verdict that they were looking for. I was not there for the press conference that was inside the courtroom. I caught him when he was outside, and he was thronged with media all the way around being asked questions about this, and he took it all. He was so comfortable there in that center of everyone just repeatedly asking him questions. He said, my life is so different now because my entire life is on the internet, and he said, and that's just a really bad thing. And he said he regrets going through all of this. He would not do it again if he had to, knowing this outcome. Take a listen to some of what he had to say about his interaction with Paltrow.
I wish you well, she said to me.
All right, really quick. He just said that Gwyneth Paltrow came over to him, whispered in his ear, and that was something that was confirmed again by the attorneys for Gwyneth, just that she has no ill will against him in all of this. And you heard in that statement that she posted on Instagram that she's just very classy about this whole thing, and she stood her ground through the entire thing. She was there in court every single day. Not what we can say for the plaintiff. He was not inside of the courtroom every single day, but these jurors were, and they sided with her.
Yeah, another big part of this. Yeah, he wasn't there because, and to me, the irony of this whole thing for Terry Sanderson is he brings the lawsuit, alleges that because of this accident caused by her, he's basically kind of a miserable guy. And then he has to come into court as this miserable guy and try to convince a jury to believe him. And I think it was an uphill climb for him. I absolutely do. All right, Julie Jenae staying with us. We're going to talk more about this. Plus, coming up next hour.
In Delphi, Indiana, a major development in the Delphi murders. Keegan Kline, a person connected to the investigation, back in court. Will he be the key witness against the accused Delphi killer?
We are going to continue a very methodical and committed approach to ensure that if any other person had any involvement in these murders in any way, that person or persons will be held accountable.
A quiet Colorado community rocked by a tragedy.
11-year-old Gannon Stout disappeared from his home.
Gannon's stepmother, Letitia Stout, is charged with his murder.
Stout allegedly killed her stepson and then drove his body across the country.
Now the jury will decide her fate.
She has a tough road ahead.
As a family searches for justice.
She will pay 100% for this heinous thing she done.
The stepmother murder trial. Live coverage begins Monday morning only on Court TV.
I came around that corner, and it takes my breath away to think this is hard, because I don't like going through this scene. I just remember everything was great, and then I heard something I've never heard at a ski resort, and that was a blood-curdling scream. Just, I can't do it. It was, and then, boom. It was like somebody was out of control and gonna hit a tree and was gonna die.
They didn't believe it. They didn't believe a word he said. He lost this case. What a quirky trial this was. I mean, I know it's not a criminal case, so it's a little different as a civil case, but as far as civil cases go, it was extremely different. Very quirky, some awkward moments. Let's take a look.
That the value, not the cost, but the value of the damages done to Terry Sanderson is $3,276,000. We look forward to showing you all of the evidence.
He says, you ran into me? And Gwyneth's like, no, you ran square right into me. And he said, I'm sorry.
Terry moves a little and groans. My ribs. Paltrow turns away and bolts down the mountain to the bottom. Christensen turns to Ramon. Do you realize your buddy just took out Gwyneth Paltrow?
I hear this scream, and then I see this skier just slam into the back of Terry, and she just slammed him.
How hard?
Very hard. Very hard.
The only person who says that they saw the collision was Mr. Ramon.
Yes.
Okay. The way you answer that makes me think that you don't believe that he saw it.
I did not believe his testimony. I was skiing and looking downhill, as you do, and I was skied directly into by Mr. Sanderson.
I got hit in my back so hard, and I'm right at my shoulder blades, and it felt like, and was perfectly centered, and the fists and the poles were right there at the bottom of my shoulder blades. Serious smack.
He had kind of taken himself to a remote corner, and I just felt that was my first real kind of slap in the face of like something's terribly wrong.
He is still struggling. He's done everything he can to get help, but he needs more help.
I knew there was damages. My daddy would say, if you got the truth, you bring the truth. Don't let anybody back you down.
Gwyneth, who could have just paid it out, paid the ransom. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna have someone hurt me and then ask me for a lot of money.
All right, let's bring back in Court TV legal correspondent Julie Jenae. She's in Park City. Doesn't look that cold tonight.
It was a 19-degree wind chill outside. I'm inside now, as you can see.
Yeah, unbelievable. All right, so what was the story that Gwyneth Paltrow told? Because that's the story that this jury believed.
she had the benefit of telling this story in a way where she could reach the heartstrings of jurors and people who were watching this trial. She talked about this moment. This wasn't just a ski day. This was time with her kids. This was time with her new boyfriend. She was going through a very public divorce that year, and she was trying to spend time with a new man in her life and figure out how their kids could work together. This was a first big trip for them, and the defense brought that up several times. Of course, the meat of this case, this claim that was against her that she was defending, was what happened in the moment before and after this collision with Terry Sanderson.
He struck me in the back. Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Okay, I know, but you said I can still watch my children ski.
Yes,
and
meaning
directly into my back by someone, which is what happened.
Yes, exactly.
What's the pending question? It sounds like they're saying the exact same thing.
What's the question?
The question is, you were watching your children ski when you were struck in the back.
So that's asked and answered, Your Honor.
Overruled?
I was skiing and looking downhill as you do, and I was skied directly into by Mr. Sanderson.
Now, Paltrow received really a lot of shade online for some of the things that she said during her examination, especially when it comes to what she lost that day. She talked about losing half a day of skiing, how much it cost, the tipping that's involved for everyone involved. But I want to make sure everyone keeps in mind that in order to prove her counterclaim, she had to show some kind of monetary damage. She didn't go to the doctor. She did get the massage, so that was something she had to do immediately after because of her pain, but she didn't have any medical bills from this. So to get that $1, which she did get, she would not have gotten if she wasn't able to show some kind of economic damages.
Absolutely. And anyone who is showing her shade online, like, you don't understand the process. You don't understand what this trial's about. You don't know how it works, right? And it completely ignores the fact that she didn't want any part of this. She was not the plaintiff. But she has a right to counterclaim if someone else is falsely accusing her of doing something that he actually did. So, yeah, you know, all that shade online is what it's worth, which is like $1 or nothing. So how about Sanderson? He had his own story, which, I mean, is tragically sad.
It's extremely sad. So he did have the sentiment, not for that day necessarily, but he was able to talk to these jurors about the loss of enjoyment of life, the non-economic damages that his attorneys say are worth $3.2 million. That didn't include medical bills because he's a veteran. He got his medical bills taken care of by the VA, but the crux of their case is the pain and suffering. But when it comes to what happened that day, what I think was most difficult for him on the stand and making sure that he built credibility with these jurors is that he admits to a loss of consciousness that day. And there's some waffling about exactly how long that was. But if you've lost consciousness, if you say you had a concussion, do you remember everything that happened before and after? Take a listen.
I got hit in my back so hard, and I'm right at my shoulder blades, and it felt like, and was perfectly centered, and the fists and the poles were right there at the bottom of my shoulder blades. Serious smack. Never been hit that hard, and I'm flying. Then it was like the ground's coming up, nobody in front of me, just me going to the ground, and you're falling far further than 90 degrees like you fall on the floor. You got that extra, and so it's quite a ways to hit the ground. And I just said, okay, you got to protect your face, you know, and your head, and that's the last thing I remember. It didn't happen. I did glance over and saw, just out of the corner of my eye, I could see, not glance over, but I could see somebody going by, and I'm going, okay, they're safe. Last thing I remember, everything's black.
My impression of Terry Sanderson in the courtroom for the days that he was there is that he is a nice man. And I think that's a positive that actually worked very much against him. You're trying to convince this jury that he has anger issues, that he's different now, that his family is scared of his reactions, but he really was one of the most articulate eloquent, intelligent people on the stand throughout the trial in his case, probably second only to Gwyneth Paltrow, but yet all of the things that he was trying to convince this jury of were not manifested inside of the courtroom when it comes to his demeanor.
Well, let's talk about his damages and life since the crash, right? That was another big part of his case in trying to explain this. But he's also like traveling around the world as well, right? I mean, and the jury got that fleet. And I don't know, you know, I don't know anything about this jury, but, you know, this is a pretty nice life that this plaintiff was living after the crash. If you're from the outside looking in, not in his skin, but looking at, oh, you're going here, you're going there, you're retired, you're seeing the world.
And you think about it, he's a tourist in their town. They are the people who live here, work here, but there are hundreds and hundreds of people who come here every other day just to visit these ski resorts, these world-class ski resorts. And to get into his shoes might have been difficult for these jurors. Many of them were skiers. Many of them had been to this resort on the Deer Valley ski slopes before. There were people in the pool who actually worked for Deer Valley, but I don't know if any of them made it onto the jury. But in terms of how they calculated damages, very common for personal injury cases, they took the life expectancy that they say he has, which is 10 more years, 7 years of this litigation. They multiplied it by 16 waking hours a day, and the fact that he is someone who has lost part of his life, the pain and suffering, loss of enjoyment of life. So multiply that by every day of the year, 365 days, and they said $33 a day. That's what they think all of this loss is worth, and that's how they got to that $3.2 million that's going to go away, but attorney's fees is still an issue that's pending with the judge.
That's it could be a little problem for him, huh?
It could be a problem. I talked to his attorney, Kristen Vonham, who was walking out of the courtroom separately than everyone else, and she said this was her first plaintiff's case. She's a defense attorney normally when it comes to, I guess, insurance defense, but she wouldn't comment on how much that claim for attorney's fees could be from Paltrow's side. She said the judge will make the decision. She's confident he's not going to award attorney's fees because she says the law says it's only if the plaintiff sued in bad faith, brought a frivolous claim, knew that they wouldn't win. She thinks they have a claim to show that they had a legitimate argument inside of the courtroom.
Yeah, it was a he said, she said, and I think they both believed what they said. They both believed what they said. I still think they crashed into each other. Jury disagrees with me. They disagree with him. They agree with Gwyneth. Julie, Jenae, great job out there in Park City. Thank you so much.